Greetings, Your Majesties. I honor you as I honor myself. My name is Kithea Bruno, and I would like to welcome you to Honor Thy Royal podcast, a self-love journey. Tonight, um, tonight's a little different, but we are wrapping up barriers to consciousness of kingdom-bound lovers and marriages. Um, Assumptions and convictions. Yeah, let's talk about it. Um, Assumptions work much like faith and fear. They're belief systems. So, whatever you decide you want to feed your energy toward is what you're going to focus on and eventually manifest. Um, so, with assumptions, you can either lean on your own understanding to form the assumption, or you can use spiritual discernment. Um, and in doing so, your assumption can become a force to help you in the actions that you take. Um, Assumptions can influence the actions that you take. Sorry. Um, sin Sins often start off as sinful thoughts. A thought is not an actual sin until you act on it. So if you have assumptions, for example, um, I am trying not to sound judgmental or hurt anyone's feelings. However, uh, in the age-old debate of who tends to ask more, in a relationship, usually the woman is asking um, her husband or longtime partner, do you still love me? And the person who in question tends to be defensive. And sometimes it is, men questioning the love of the woman in their lives. Um, but anywho, whoever is being asked that question usually tends to answer it defensively. So they'll say something to the extent of, well, you should know I love you even if I don't say it, even if I don't show it every day in the way that you want, you should just know. Which means that that person should assume that you love them, though there is no evidence to show it, and there is no one else who is supposed to, take advantage of showing them that type of affection. Same thing with the post that I see, check on your strong friends. Um, we're not always okay. You assume that the person is okay because no matter what, they're going to figure it out. I'm the type of person, because I always have to figure things out for myself and the people that I am responsible for. I definitely like to leave my heart out of my decisions and just use my brain and logic. And the reason that is because I want to make sure I'm looking at every angle unbiasedly. My heart will be biased. It has emotions, it has feelings, and it's allowed to feel all of those things. Great. And the reason that it's allowed to and still be a valuable part of me even though I had to stop listening to it for a few years, is because my brain is usually in control. My heart is allowed to love out loud, whoever, wherever, however, even if I just met someone, because no matter what, the things that would become roadblocks or hindrances for me, my brain is taking care of that. And people do not give, enough credit to how much brain power you're actually using to make decisions, to act on things. So, even speaking your assumption without research, without speaking to the person that you care about, you're assuming they're okay. You're assuming that they, know what you're thinking, know what you want without actually expressing it. Just because the two become one does not mean they have one brain. It doesn't work that way. Um, Assuming is an action word. It is something you invest your free will and brain power into in order to formulate, then internalize your assumptions. Assumptions by faith can be powerful forces in spiritual life. The Bible cautions every kingdom citizen to make assumptions based on God's word, his teachings, and his guidance. This is how your confidence is strengthened. Um, What you assume will also be your place and level of consciousness and understanding. For example, oh, I just gave you the example. um, okay. When God gives you an assignment, um, and I will just speak on me because I don't know how it is for other people. But when God gives me an assignment, I will pray on it, I'll meditate on it. Um, and no matter what, I'm going to act on it. I just need to figure out what it is I'm supposed to do, where I'm supposed to go. But no matter what it looks like, no matter what it sounds like, God knows if you send me, I'm going to go. Wherever it is, I'm going to go. All the ins and outs, that's a God thing. You're the one who wants me to go. You will send me. Now, if God gives me an assignment that I think is a little too much or it's a little too out there, then I'm going to drag my feet about it. So, for example, if on this entrepreneur journey of mine, I know that there are going to be people that God has written or assigned to pour love into me and to love me and or guide me. There are people that he has in mind, like, they have their specific purposes. No one who knows of me or has seen anything to do with Honor Thy Royal has seen it by accident. And the people that have seen it, received it, who God has assigned to pour into me and to love me, it like I can assume, God, you had a conference call with all of these people. You've already gone and set your presence in all of these places, these stages, and it doesn't always work out that way. It does not work out that way. So I have had to learn, and this is aside from Honor Thy Royal, I just had to learn to be okay. It is what it is. So if God has assigned people and this is the part that I'm usually used to. If God assigns somebody to love me or to pour into me, to have something to do with my well-being, and they reject me, um, I'm laughing because I realize, like, I know I'm a jerk. I know I am. And the only time I'm a jerk is when I have to shut something down. So if God assigns people to love me and they reject me, if God assigns people to be in my environment and they reject me, they reject the assignment that God has given them to pour love into me, to love me, to guide me, to be with me, to teach me, to mentor me. Okay, not a problem. God, my God, I thank you for who you are in my life. I thank you for where you are in my life. You are the God of double, 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 quadruple, A. And B, Father, I release any and everybody who rejects their assignment where it concerns me. I release them from their obligation to this assignment. And every single person that rejects me, I release. I pray that you will replace them with even better, even greater. So no matter who I meet in life, no matter where I go in life, if I get invited to a nice mansion somewhere in the U.S. and I get there and it's not, my vibe, or I'm not someone's vibe, uh, not a problem. God, you already see what's happening here. I'm single. I can say I'm out. And I can assume that the other person will be okay because, again, I've asked God to forgive them. I've asked God to release them from their obedience to me in their assignment. So I'm assuming God is going to forgive them. However, no matter what, the flip side to that truth is, and I've learned this firsthand, God will forgive. That doesn't mean he's not going to, punish. It might not be as severe because someone is praying for you. People prayed for me. So I say that to say this. I'm single. I'm okay with walking away from any and everything, period. Because whatever I walk away from is now a part of my past. My future is still ahead of me, full of life, full of love, full of people, full of places to go, things to see, things to do. And they're going to all be greater than the last level I was on. And where I'm still a beginner, I can only get better. And that goes for every single kingdom bound citizen. No matter where you are in life, no matter if you're single or if you're married, no matter where you are, you can only get better from where you are. Even if it's going to take some time, even if it's going to take some more conversations, some talking to other people, therapy if you need it. But regardless of the case, if you can be conscious and aware that wherever you are is literally a moment in time. It is not the rest of your life. It's not even the rest of your day. What? There's too much to do. Anyhow, back to this. But when you're married, I'm gonna just read what I have. When you're married, walking away, when you're not married, walking away is a favored option. Um, Once you're married, you go from, not once you're married. if you're single, you should definitely, test the spirits of the people that are around you in your life, in your environment. And testing someone's spirit means, watching how they interact with God. Do they acknowledge God in the things that they do, the things that they say in their everyday regular life? Do they earnestly pray? And I don't just mean, rub a dub dub, thanks for the grub type prayers. I mean, like, do they have an actual prayer life without you having to say anything about it? And even if they don't, if you know about prayer life and they don't, you can then shepherd that person on their journey. I mean, you're not going to be their teacher, but you can guide them toward, the resources that you've had to establish a prayer life. But once you're married, you should have vetted that person's spirit by then. You should know. You should know that you know that you know. Um, so you go from testing the spirit of your spouse to checking on the spirit of your spouse. If you're married, the two become one. So my soul is also his soul. The way I take care of my soul is not going to be the same exact way he takes care of my soul, but he's going to take care of my soul because my soul belongs to him, and vice versa. Because you're married and you belong to each other, your every being belongs to each other, you don't want to blister the heart of the person that you love. You don't want to assume things and then act and lash out negatively and hurt them, because hurting them only hurts you. And if you're married, like, hurting your spouse in any capacity, especially if you have the opportunity to not hurt them, also hurts the other person involved in your court of three. If they get hurt unintentionally by something you did, then, not all things can be mapped out, planned out, and avoided, but you definitely have to reevaluate because you don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over. Um, I think I will do like a series on for single people only. And I mean, I know I was, and the reason why God allowed me to start with this, because I didn't think about doing one for single people until yesterday, after talking to my uncle daddy. Um, but yeah, thank you, Jesus. If kingdom bound lovers, spouses, um, if you're in a marriage and you don't want to always have to assume how your other half is doing, speak to them, communicate with them on purpose. Asking how your day was is a question specifically pertaining to their day, their time away from you. However, checking in to make sure they're okay literally sounds like, maybe you might be going through a checklist. Maybe you and your spouse will, can create, questions that will, that This is now the new norm. This is how I want to check on you. This is how I want you to check on me. But you're going to establish that for each other, with each other on purpose, for the purpose of checking on each other's soul, spirit, mind, and well being overall. So if you are newlyweds, um, um, checking on your new spouse might sound something like, oh, you're still in the honeymoon phase. But if you're like on year 2, or you just celebrated your first anniversary, checking on each other might be setting next year's goals and working on them together. And because you have created them together, you both know what the goal is, you both know what you're working toward and for, and you're both um, entering into this goal setting with enthusiasm and encouragement with and for each other. So, no matter what it is, even if you don't have 100% to give to everything else, um, toward the goal that you and your spouse set, you will muster up the rest of that in order to like stay focused on it. Uh, that would actually be called your conviction, because you have decided on what it is you want to do and where it is you want to go and where you want to take this person with you. Knowing that the end goal is all you care about with that person there with you, it will convict you to say, hey, I really don't have 110% to give into going to work, because you got to go to work to make the money, to then spend the money or do whatever it is that you're going to do to make your goals work. Um, but you're going to muster up that courage anyway, because other than liking, heat and lights in your home, you are responsible for someone else, whether you are the husband or the wife. You are responsible for each other on purpose. You don't assume that, the other person is okay with working 20-hour shifts just to make things work and you're okay with sitting at home. What? Um, you don't assume that, both of you are working uh, 8 to 12 hours a day, 3 to 5 days a week, and you have barely had time to do the things you used to do when you were, just dating, having fun, doing things around town, finding new restaurants. You don't assume that just because, you're going to work all the time, that the other person doesn't care about those things. No, you still keep dating each other. Your goals are your goals. They're things that you're going to work toward. But your assumption and thinking that the other person, just understands, hey, we have goals, so we can't live life or be happy or do other things together. That's not how that goes. Talk to them. You know what? This today was a long day. I really don't feel like having a big fancy dinner. Can we just have something light to eat and watch a movie? That's your spouse. It's your home. It shouldn't be a problem. But you communicate these things. There's no need to force yourself to sit through something that you don't have to do. Your spouse is your other half. They will understand, but you have to speak. If you feel like, and I think it doesn't matter what I think, but if you feel like, you had a long day, you had a bad day, um, you're in your bag of feelings for whatever reason, communicate that to your spouse. Who else are you going to talk to? I mean, there are people you can talk to, but that's what they're there for. They are your other half. And if more kingdom bound lovers would understand what it truly means to become one with someone. Like, I'm not gonna, Anywho, I'll just say this. I lived my life as Kathia Bruno most of my life. Once I got married, I had to give up part of my identity. Even though my dad wasn't like the best dad in the world, that was my covering. My last name was my covering. Anywhere I went, they knew my dad. Good, right, bad, and indifferent. Usually very violent. But whatever the case is, that was my covering my entire life. Then I get married and it took me like 3 months to change my name because I did not want to do it. That's a whole nother conversation. I really hope I'm helping some people with this. Like, whew. Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. But, you know, making sure you respect the covering that you are entering into is a very, very, very big thing. Because if you don't respect the covering that you're entering into or have entered into, it will lead to separation within your oneness. And that will create cracks. And not all of them are, able to be repaired. But anyhow, when I got divorced, I had to pay to get my name back. What? I gave it up for free, but I gotta pay to get it back? I digress. But still, if you are married, please, please, please have a serious conversation with your spouse about what you think oneness means. What do you think the cord of three means for us? Ask each other those questions. Seriously. There's no right or wrong answer. I mean, there are satisfactory answers, but there's no right or wrong answer because the way someone thinks is not wrong if no one has ever given them a different perspective or point of view. And if you are married, you like literally have someone else that can help you sort out and process your thoughts, feelings, questions, comments, emotions, and concerns. If you choose not to use your spouse in that capacity for which they were built, just for you, nobody else, just you. That's why y'all got married. Then, if you choose not to use them, that's a you thing. That's a you thing. But if you want a kingdom-bound marriage to work, all of the things that give you butterflies, all of the things that make you nervous, all of the things that scare you, you should be able to communicate those things to the person you're sharing your heart with. If it's on your mind, the two become one, then it should be on their mind also. You can't just assume because this person knows I like I don't know. I like for me because this person knows I like go-karts, they should know that anytime I just want to release some stress, I want to go-kart riding because that's what I do for myself. How are they gonna know if you don't say anything? And not only that, maybe my friends know because they're used to doing it with me. If it's not something that this person has been a part of within the development, they can't understand. One of my favorite quotes is by, at this point, we all know I'm a nerd. It's okay. Um, the quote is by Benjamin Franklin. If you teach me something, I may forget. If you show me something, I may not remember it exactly. But if you include me, I can internalize it. I can understand it. I will learn it. So if, me liking loving go-karts is like a big thing for me, but I never communicate that to my spouse, then of course when there's something wrong within that marriage, I'm gonna have more fun with my friends because they already know what I like. Whereas they know what I like because we put time into doing these things together. They know, what I like to do to like calm myself down or when I've had a stressful day because we've been through those types of days together. If you're married and you've been, you know, you're not communicating these things with your spouse, you can't assume that they know or that they understand if you don't specifically communicate it to them. Everyone else might understand, but they don't because that's not who you shared it with. And it's not just, oh, I like to do this, I don't like to do this. No, okay, that sounds like maybe a really fun, activity list or whatever. But communicating with your spouse is different from communicating with other people. And the reason is because when you are communicating with your spouse, you are communicating your feelings, thoughts, deepest thoughts, and emotions. And just those three, there are more, but just those three are literally the keys to being vulnerable with someone. I do not share my thoughts with everyone. Not everyone can handle me at 100. There's no need to I know I'm potent. I know that. There's no need to force that on anybody else. So I keep my thoughts to myself. Um, B, if I'm sharing my emotions, these are the words that are coming from my heart, which is something that can easily be broken by other people. So if I'm sharing my heart with you, I'm sharing the things that are in my heart. I'm sharing the things that are in my mind, on my mind. These are things that nobody, no matter if they chop me up into a million pieces to study my brain or not, they will never be able to understand these things about me unless I communicate them. So if I have a spouse, I should be able to communicate with that person. Like I said, people walk around on eggshells around me. Um, and for me, at first, I would seriously be offended. Anywho, I was really offended. Then, God dealt with me. And it's like, you know what? You like it, I love it. You feel like you need to walk around on eggshells around me for any reason, go right on ahead. Go right on ahead. I'm not doing it. So then when I speak or open my mouth, it feels like an attack or an assault on someone's person. And it's not. You're the one walking on eggshells, not me. I said what I said and I meant it. Because I'm not going to say words that I do not mean. So when I'm speaking to my spouse, guess what? Every word I'm using to speak with my spouse, if you're a man, first off, watch your tone, okay? The bass in your voice is something that is supposed to be like uber soothing to the women in your life, especially to the one you call wife. So if she finds your voice soothing at all times, anytime it does not sound the way it normally sounds, she's gonna pick up on that, and it's gonna bother her, not like mentally, but emotionally. It's gonna bother her because the sound of her heart does not sound the same. So, and if you have like one of those super deep voices. Like, there's no need to yell, sir. Okay, I don't want to feel like I'm in trouble. Um, talk to me nice, please. But and if you're a woman, if you're the wife, check yourself. First off, your voice is supposed to be also soothing to his ears. Um, the way you talk to your husband, he is your husband. He's the only one you got. And unless your goal is to make him your future ex-husband, check yourself. Anywho, check yourself. Like, if you feel like you're about to go from a 7 to like 25, wait a minute, okay, check yourself. Do I want him talking to me at a level 25 for any reason in life? And if the answer is no, then if I feel myself getting riled up, a few things can happen. Best case scenario, he's going to let you know about yourself, wife, or Mrs. whatever your last name is. I need you to bring it down a few thousand notches. I don't know who you think you're talking to, but I'm not that person. I am your husband. And there is not, and I don't think, but people are weird. I don't think any wife would hear that coming from their husband who, A, if you pay attention to the sentence, to the statement, it started with reminding her of where her place is. You could also look at it as putting her in her place by calling her by her role and title, wife or Mrs. whatever your last name is. It's not just babe. It's not just honey. It's not, a term of endearment. Like, we're going to pacify this first. No. No. We're going to remember who you are and whose you are. And then we're going to continue with what I needed to say, which is, wife, I need you to calm it down a few thousand notches. And if, your husband is the one that needs to calm it down, husband or Mr. whatever your last name is, I'm your wife. And I need you to talk to me as such. Not now, but right now. I'm here for you and I'm on your side. Don't assume that just because you're upset, that gives you the right to say and do whatever you want. Another thing about assumption is, if you, especially for married people, if you are in a relationship, if you're married and, you guys are upset with each other, you assume that it is okay and justifiable to go and make your issues public, right? So you go and tell somebody, whether they're close friends to you or family of hers, but you go and tell somebody, you bring it to your family and friends. You've chosen to spend the rest of your life with this person, on the good days, on the bad days, on the days you guys argue. Y'all, at this point, y'all know I need my tea. This one is lemon, jasmine, ginger. Where was I? I don't know. Oh, so if you go and talk, spread the negativity about whatever is going on to other people. When you are no longer in that negative state of mind, when you are no longer, super upset about it because you have discussed it and formulated a plan of action with the person, that with the one and only person, that could make the situation right, which is your spouse, everything you already said, it's already out there. And if and when it comes back to your spouse, they might forgive you. Might. They should. They married you for better or for worse, good days, bad days, days that y'all have arguments. But that is hurting the person that you love. If you do something, I don't care if you're a man or a woman. If you do something, first off, I'm not going to keep doing that. God created them, male and female. I don't quite care about how many other sexes, genders, whatever. It's male or female. I'm sip my tea. But anywho, once everything calms down, you're going to owe that person an apology. That's your other half. If you do something that only affects you, right? And you end up disappointing yourself. You don't go and, I mean, you'll probably talk to some people about it, but you don't go to everybody, and tell everybody how, what, who, where. You don't. You figure it out on your own and you do better. You move on. And some people won't even say anything to anyone. That's between you, yourself, and yourself. It's the same thing when you get married. It's between you, your spouse, and God. It's a court of three. That is all. So if something is wrong and both of you need to take a deep breath, walk away, do not allow the sun to set because on your anger, because doing so is allowing, the enemy to start playing games with either your mind or the mind of your spouse. So where maybe the situation wasn't that deep, maybe, your spouse had already forgiven you, even though for acting out in anger. Once you make it public, you now owe that person a public apology. And it's not going to look like, you dragging them to each and every single person that you were bad mouthing or sharing their business with, but it's going to look like and sound like an actual apology to that person. And that's your spouse, so you should know how to apologize to them. Um, it usually starts, and then any apology usually starts with, I apologize for doing, saying XYZ. There may be an explanation as to why you felt comfortable doing that so that it doesn't happen again. But you definitely have to be honest in your apology. It's still communicating. And I don't like apologizing. So, not that I don't do it, I don't like to have to do it. So, this is why I leave my heart out of things. I will think with my brain first. Doesn't mean I'm always going to make the right decisions, but I'm going to lead with my brain. How is this going to affect this person? How would it affect me if it was coming from an outside source? And in thinking of these things, I want to honor somebody else the way I would honor myself. So if I know how I would feel, then it's definitely not that difficult to assume we have something like the same humanity. So this is how you would feel. And that part, can't expect you from other people, is usually, where it can go up or down. My bedtime is on my watch. Sorry. Oh goody. Um, Let me just wrap it up with some scriptures. So to help us in understanding that assumptions are not good, especially if you're married to someone. What? Why do I have to assume what you mean? We're married. Tell me exactly what you mean. And again, God knows I am a whole SOS kingdom citizen. Stuck on stupid. God, I need you to make it plain and make it clear so that I understand. Because if it's not plain and clear to me, then that means that I have to lean on my own understanding for some part of this understanding that I'm supposed to get out of this statement, this instruction, this action, this person, this place, this thing. But God, that's not how that you said not to do that. So I need you to let me know exactly what it is. And God doesn't have to speak to me in general. Like it's not in a general assembly. It's an intimate relationship. And the way I internalize God, believe me, there is absolutely nobody in heaven, hell, or earth that can understand what he means to me. And I had responded to a post about missing exit signs, and it wasn't until like I got the little notification that said, someone liked your comment, and I had to go back to read the comments. Like, when I'm saying something, that's what's coming off the top. I read one part of my comment, and I said, people who are not ruled by love cannot be controlled by it. God is love. So because he rules my life, because of who he is in my life, because of where he is in my life, I hold myself accountable to what I do and say that will hurt him. I am representing him. So where a lot of people don't get me, you're not going to. You have not had the type of relationship that I've had with God, and it's taken 39 years to get to this point. And it's still getting better and better, with or without anybody here. And he still has greater and better for me, with or without anybody here. But to assume that I can stay the same, I can be double-minded, I can live a life that he does not want me to be a part of, and he'll be okay with it. God, you understand. I mean, come on. We're here now. No. Because he rules my life, I control myself. I run me. And the way I run me is to make sure I'm doing the things that are encouraging my love to him and his love to me. I am I'm living a life that makes him smile anytime he's checking in on me. If he calls me, no matter where I'm at, here I am, God. I'm not going to be ashamed because I'm not doing or going someplace that I don't need to be. And it is because I am ruled by love that I can have self-control in what I do, say, and where I go. However, because I'm stuck on stupid, I got to check with God multiple times. because I don't want to lean on my own understanding. I know what that leads to. I saw this post that said, um, I do crazy things. One time I even got married. Oh my, I felt that. What? I know what it's like to back the wrong person. As a result, a blood sacrifice was made to get me out of it. Someone lost their life. Technically, two people lost their lives. And to carry that weight in knowing this is the extreme that God will go to for me, I'm not trying to get anybody in any type of a situation at all, ever in life. God, I release them. You do whatever you're gonna do, but please, if it's because of me, I'm asking you to bless them. But I release them from whatever they were supposed to be or do for me, because I do not want anybody to have to forfeit their life. And it took years for me to get over that. So for me, if I'm going someplace, I understand that it's not like I go places and just start saying, "Oh my gosh, Jesus is coming, the rapture is coming, you need to give your life to Christ." That's not what I do. If God has a word for me to give to somebody, I'm going to give them that word. I'm not a prophet. I just know the way God speaks to my spirit. When it comes to a relationship or a marriage, it's the same thing. You wake up every single day, you're both supposed to pray. You go to sleep every single night, you're both supposed to pray. You eat meals together or apart, you're both supposed to pray. You have children, they're going to sleep, you pray over your children. You're supposed to do things that include God on purpose in your marriage, on purpose. Or else, why are you together? The purpose of your marriage is to strengthen and empower each one of you, the husband and the wife. And you're both under God's covering. And then the wife is under her husband's covering, but he is under God's covering. And if you are in a marriage with someone that does not understand what their covering is, or they assume that their covering is whatever they believe in, it might be more. Maybe the two of you don't have the same definition of what a spiritual covering is, what a husband's covering is, what a wife's covering is, what a mother's covering is, what a father's covering is. But maybe you guys can figure it out together. Maybe you can learn what it is, because if you understand what it means to be covered by someone, the source of that covering, where it's coming from, you won't have to assume. You can, go to sleep, wake up every single day, and you don't have certain basic brain problems. Even if you don't see each other because your occupations are, have you traveling, you're not worried about the integrity of this person, because you're covering, whether you're the husband or the wife, you are bound by duty and by honor to your marriage to hold your integrity intact. You are bound by duty and honor to this marriage, to this cord of three, to make sure you're keeping your mind, your heart, your soul, your spirit, your body in right standing. You can't be married and doing F-boy stuff, whether you're the wife or the husband, and then ask God to bless your marriage. He'll still bless you, but you definitely won't be getting what you would have if you were in right standing, if anything at all. And maybe the blessings that he has for you, you won't ever see them because you're not in right standing, but your children will. Or your children have watched you not live your life in right standing. So now you've raised them to not live their life in right standing. I was going to say in reverent fear of the Lord, but we're not doing too much churchy today. Oh, anyhow, let me get. Okay, 4 minutes. Proverbs 18, verse 2, message version. Fools are nothing for thoughtful discourse. Care for nothing for. Fools care for nothing. Sorry. Fools care nothing for thoughtful discourse. All they do is run off at the mouth. Don't use words you don't mean. Say what you mean what you say, don't say it mean. Again, how would you receive someone, talking to you at a 25, and that's not where you're used to them talking to you, especially if once both of you get back on the same page, on the same wavelength, that's not how you're going to be talking to them. And I'm the type of person, if something happens, like if we're balanced and then something happens that has us, off balance for whatever reason, I'm the type of person, I want to do whatever needs to be done to get us back to being balanced. So I can compartmentalize all the extra stuff. If you did or said something out of anger, my brain can process the logic and understanding. As a result of leading with your emotions, these are the actions that you decided to take. I can understand that. That, however, does not mean that my heart does not feel some type of way. But I still just want to get back to where we can be okay again. That also takes communication. You're not just going to, speak to each other at the dinner table with your children around, and that's when you're going to communicate to try to get on balance. No. The whole family is not what's off balance. It's you and your spouse. So you and your spouse need to communicate privately to discuss how you're going to repair this, because the two hearts are one. The two minds are one. The two bodies are one. So if you see something has upset your spouse, you can actively see that and you do nothing about it, okay, maybe that person needs some time to cool off, whatever the case is. However, you can't leave it that way. Do not let the sun go down on your anger, because then it's just going to keep on growing and you're going to assume the worst. Don't do that. I definitely did not get through. I didn't even make it through like 50% of what I have for tonight's episode. I'm starting to just, like, the things I don't make it through, I think there's enough to make a few books off of. But yeah. Once this series is done, I'm going to attempt to go to pre-record them to then upload them. We'll see how it goes. I have not done well with them. Even if I pick up where I left off, my face can't lie. So, yeah, it looks like a chain letter pieced together, but I'm working on some things. But until then, adjust your crowns, honor that royal. Have a good night, loves.